Welcome, and thanks for inviting me to this excellent set here this morning to introduce you a little bit to Splunk before we get a few other presentations. We also have Findwise here in the room today, and E2 will run a demo at the end. So we're going to have a whole lot of fun with Splunk. But I'm going to kick it off by introducing the subject, the company. I work for Splunk. I work in the Stockholm office, cover all of Nordics and Baltics as my region. And I'm a senior partner sales engineer at Splunk. Means I'm helping our partners, such as the two partners here today, presenting for you as well. And also, of course, Arrow in their job at doing a great job as distributing our software in the region. So when you talk about Splunk, you inevitably come into the area of big data, which is a hot topic, as everyone knows. At Splunk, we call it machine data for a long period of time. And essentially, big part of machine data is coming from the big definition of big data is machine data, really. So it's really data generated out of machines, and it could be anything, really. It could be a server, it could be a handset, it could be anything that you touch on your day-to-day go-abouts, right? So really any type of source that generates some kind of data that's human readable, typically into log files, but could be really any format at all. The challenge with this machine data is, of course, that it comes in great volume. We see the volume growing exponentially year by year as everything gets connected. And in order to do something valuable out of this data, you also have to be able to handle it with the type of velocity we see around this data, right? So you need to be able to action on this data quickly. But the big challenge is also that there's a big variety of sources sending different formats to us in this kind of data, right? And there is also a variability over time, so that format may change at any time. So you really need to be able to cope with that as well, which is challenging. So we'll put some more light on, what Splunk does with this kind of data, right? So the mission statement that we saw before as well as with Splunk and the company's been living by this mission statement for a long time, is to make machine data accessible, usable, and valuable to everyone, right? Which means that first, easy to access this data. Shouldn't be stored in log files and you need to hard work to find it, right? Once you found it, you should be able to use it instantly. And anyone with this access should also be able to create value out of this. So it's really about the value here in the end, right? So this machine data, how does it look? It's beautiful, right? It's not very beautiful. It's actually quite hard to look at, right? So if you're the owner of one of these systems and day-to-day look at these logs, then of course you understand what these logs says. So this is just 4 small transactions out of maybe millions of records, and it looks like this. So how can you find anything useful in here with your own with your own eyes, right? It's really hard. So you need some kind of help, and that's where Splunk comes in. So what Splunk can help you do with machine data is to find important, interesting fields in this great source of data here, and quickly identify that. Also over large sums of data, so you easily find this. And not only does it find it, also correlate these events here. So what we really see here is something goes wrong in an order processing system there, but we see the customer ID in that an order comes through. In the middle where we see the error, some database error, it seems to be, right? And we have the customer ID there as well. So we can relate the order to the error. And later we also have, a couple of hours later, we have the customer trying to call into the call center here, also giving out his customer ID there. So we can correlate these events together, and we can see that this customer probably, trying to transact with us, doing business with us, has a rough time because he had an error somewhere in the process. He tries to call in. He hangs up after 4 minutes. I guess the call center was very busy with other customers calling as well, perhaps, and ends up with getting a bad reputation on Twitter, on social media. So these are the kind of things that sort of the company as a whole don't want a lot of happening, right? So, but we can really shed some light over it using Splunk. So, and why is Splunk different then? I'm sure you heard that Splunk is an interesting tool, an interesting platform to use, right? If you look at how a traditional monitoring system, well, most of them at least, are built up today, I think you recognize there's probably a database in the bottom of that system. So you have some kind of structure where you manage your data. And in order to put data in a database, you need to adhere to that structure, that format. So you have to use some kind of schema to put the data in that database, right? And potentially you need to use SQL and ETL in order to extract and transform the data in order to fit into that database. And that's hard work with data. So every time you're going to put some more data in the database, that's something you need to do, right? The Splunk approach is very different because we don't want to spend time doing that. The data is handled unstructured. So we keep the raw format of the data, which gives us the ability to put it in great volume and velocity. And also in the variety of sources. And what we apply on top of this unstructured data is a universal indexing. So we really find everything that sits in this data in its raw format and create an index on top of that. Everything in Splunk is a search. So you search for data, and you use this indexing, of course, to find your relevant data sources. But you look at the raw data format. So that's everything in Splunk. So it's everything around search. And the secret sauce in Splunk, we apply a schema on the search result. So when we see the search result, we use a very nifty technique to find correlation in this the result and present that as a data schema on top. So it's really the upside down way. So everything is applied on search time, not on index time. And this is, by the way, very similar to how, for instance, Google is indexing all of the web, right? So that was the sort of the idea on how to build Splunk as well. So you store everything unstructured, and then you do indexing on whatever you store, right? A very similar type of search method. So why is this valuable for any organization? Well, the first thing, it's really easy to onboard data into Splunk. You can collect data from anywhere. And it's not only log files, which is sort of the basics, taking the logs from the servers, but also could be network data streamed. It could be modeler inputs coming from APIs. You can also send whatever data you have in any format into Splunk. As long as it's sort of readable to the human eye, Splunk can also index it and use it. So easy to get the data in. Once it's in Splunk, you can search and analyze everything, right? So everything is searchable and analyzable. And the end result is to gain real-time operational intelligence out of this data, right? That means that you can actually look for data that you haven't seen before, or patterns of data, and drive your business in a more efficient way using that. So, different view. How to get this into value then. So you have any system in your organization that generates data, no matter if it's on-premise, could be hosted somewhere, or a public cloud service. We can work just as well in the cloud as well, get that data. So we take a copy of that data, we index and store it in Splunk. So we have a local copy of the data. We don't have to go back to the system again. We have a local copy of the data in Splunk. And out of that data, you can really start asking any question at all, right? So it's not a one area solution, right? It's a platform for machine data, which is valuable to anyone in the organization. That's really what we're driving towards as well. We started as an IT operations tool to do this, to find the needle in the haystack when there was a big problem somewhere in an environment, looking for the error, looking for the correlation between errors in different systems. But quite quickly, our customers found that, this is exactly what the security guys need as well. If there's a breach, we need to find whatever that user or system has been touching during the last couple of months, and we can store the data forever in Splunk. So security, compliance, and fraud, very, very big part of what we do today. Also application delivery guys. So you have a lot of developers developing new stuff, and there's a problem in production, and 80% of the time they spend on fixing problems in production and keeping the current version up and running instead of working out what should be in the next version. Give them access to Splunk instead of trying to ask for production logs to fix problem, and they will see instantly what happens in production, and they can react faster. Business analytics, come back to that a little bit later in a customer example, and also IoT and industrial data. So you can take sensor data and whatever you have, right, and really create quick and valuable insights out of this data as well in Splunk. So this is the Splunk portfolio, the solution stack. So it's really one product, one platform. That's what we have here. We have a few different flavors of it. Splunk Enterprise, which is your on-prem Splunk installation. You can also go for Splunk Cloud, which is, of course, a cloud service. Then Splunk will be run for you by Splunk, and you will just have access to the data. Splunk Lite for maybe one departmental use, start use case. And the product formerly known as Hunk, so we're changing it to just call it Splunk with Hadoop. So you can, if you have Hadoop already in your organization and store a lot of data, you can also access that data and visualize data from that in Splunk, because Hadoop is fairly similar to how Splunk stores the data internally as well.
One question.
Yes, thank you.
Where is the Splunk Cloud located?
It's an Amazon relationship, so we don't do big data centers. So Splunk has a long relationship with Amazon, and you can ask for it to be in Europe. So currently it's in Frankfurt, but I think we're also potentially getting UK in terms of physical location of the data. Okay. But of course we also have the US stack there as well. And on top of the Splunk system, the platform, where we take all these data sources in, we also have some apps and solutions on top. So first, we have a very rich ecosystem of users that love Splunk. And for that, they have created their visualizations, their stuff on top. And what you can do when you work with Splunk, you can create apps, which includes information you get out of it. So for instance, if you have these very common data sources, there's a few examples of them there, and you store that data in Splunk, you can potentially just grab an app that from Cisco, for instance, to visualize this data, which makes it really fast and efficient. Instead of building your own reports and dashboards, grab an already built app, download it from Splunk for free, and visualize that data in minutes. So you will get very good intel on what goes on in your systems from doing that. Also, as Splunk has evolved, we have also created a few focus products on top, which we call premium solutions. It's also apps, but they are a bit more rigid, or a number of apps in some cases. So for IT operations, we have IT service intelligence, which really you could sort of operationalize your data and look at it in an IT ops perspective. You can create KPIs and group these KPIs into service definitions, and you can visualize these in a very efficient way. Very similar also, Splunk Enterprise Security, our award-winning security solution on top of Splunk, that very well competes with, for instance, CM platforms for them interested in applying a security perspective on Splunk. Also to top with that, we have the Splunk user behavior analytics solution, which looks at the user's behavior using machine learning and pattern recognition to understand if users are behaving differently. So if you have a security background, you know that every breach is based out of a valid credentials, right? So if you look, for instance, for an account that is behaving, does something that usually doesn't do, log into system they never log into, or wake up starting doing things at night when they're normally not in the office, user behavior analytics will identify that this is something that is out of the ordinary and alert the people. So also to bring some extra value on top of that. So these are licensed products on top of Splunk. So just a brief overview. So how do you get started with Splunk? What is the start of the journey? So most customers, they find Splunk by hearing about it. They have a problem with some of their data. They're looking for some issue. They can't find it. They go to splunk.com, just download the software, install it in just a couple of minutes on their machine. They put some frozen logs at the installation, and they start searching and easily find these needles in the haystack. So we had that all the time, right? A very quick installation, and you get Splunk for free as well. There is a free version, up to 500 megs data per day you can put into a free version of Splunk. So a lot of journeys starts this way, or most journeys actually. And we don't even know about these customers, right? They just went to the website. So when we get excited is, of course, when a customer or company, finds Splunk very important and valuable on a very strategic level. So they need a big Splunk installation. So this is how it could look like. We have the forwarders, which is similar to agents, but they don't do any processing. They just take data and forward. So they're very light, very small. They could be anywhere really in your organization. Could be in your servers, naturally. Could be in devices sometimes. We even have forwarders in satellites in space. So they are basically everywhere. Top of that, we send the data into the Splunk indexers, which is the storage layer on Splunk. So this is where we index and store the data. And on top, we have the users connecting to the indexes through the search head, which is where the GUI is generated, but also where the searches start and also where they are collected in the end. So we can also cluster. And you can think of all these layers here that it's like a accordion, right? You can just add more instances when you run out of space in the index layer, for instance. Say more forwarders and more searches also is all clusterable, so it's very scalable and works well. And over time, this customer journey normally starts with some kind of problem, search and investigate some issue in the system, find the needle in the haystack, as we say. And quite easily, you go from that into understand, well, actually, if this problem happens again, I would like a notification. So you're starting to be a little bit more proactive, right? And then maybe you start baselining your data. And what if the response time goes up? You get some proactive monitoring and alerting over time, right? So you evolve and you keep your Splunk system up and running and collecting data as it goes. But now you're able to react on what's happening in your organization in real time. So now you maybe mature into the next level with more operational visibility. You start actually look at not only errors, but also, how is the information flowing in our organization? What is the total amount of orders coming in, and what is the value of those orders? And if we have a breach or a problem, how much does it cost us, right? So over time, you come to a more operational visibility state where you actually can sit a bit more relaxed. You have one tool instead of many tools to look at. How is our business going? You get data from different areas of information. So you have your security posture, you have your IT operation posture, you have your business data in Splunk as well. And that's where you, at the end, become real-time, get real-time business insight. How is our organization going? And we have quite a few organizations today that are 100% relying on Splunk. We have one customer in Sweden. They say they put 25% of their IT budget on Splunk because half of their employees have Splunk, and no decisions whatsoever is not based on data coming from Splunk. So it could be very strategic for them. So today we have over 12,000 customers worldwide. So it's still some customers to find, but we have grown quite quickly over the last 10 years. So roughly 85% of the Fortune 100. So in the top, we're very well known and sort of becoming the standard way of handling your data and getting access to information around complex IT system installations, right? So, but to give you a bit more light, I would like to turn to a customer story. In this example here, we have Gatwick Airport. Anyone been traveling through Gatwick? This audience here, I see quite a few nods, yeah. And well, you might think of it as your ordinary UK airport, right? But what I use Splunk for is to measure their on-time efficiency and to really make that better, right? So they had 925 flights a day. That's more than, you know, I think Arlanda and Copenhagen combined, something like that. So it's quite intense. They get data from all areas of the airport, so it could be specifically the security area, but also data from people coming into the airport, so you can measure that as well. And they do all sorts of real-time predictive analytics. So I want to start this story by actually showing a bit of how it looked like 5 years ago when they were at when they're beginning. So it's actually a clip from a video. Of course, now it's not. Sorry. Stepped into technical challenges. Yes. Do like this. So tried this before and it was working.
Gatwick, the busiest single runway airport in the world. 25,000 staff, 120,000 bags a day, 33 million passengers a year.
Put your bag on first, put the first one on.
In the past, Gatwick struggled to cope with all the things that can go wrong and do go wrong. Operating an international airport is an unpredictable business.
You've got to be on your guard and prepared at all times.
But now, Gatwick's under new ownership and undergoing a £1 billion facelift. The aim, to create the best airport in the world.
We need to be driving this airport to 45 million passengers off the single runway.
With new management comes tough talk.
We've got to change our business now.
We want to remove those failures.
There's no accountability, there's no leadership, there's no direction.
We don't have time to wait.
Put up or shut up.
Over the last year, we've been there, capturing the highs and the lows as the world's busiest single runway airport gets even busier.
Ambulance crew on right, please move to one side. I need to move you around so you're going down this way for us, please.
Conflicting views as to where we're supposed to go, huge queues, nowhere to sit.
Fundamentally, something's wrong. It failed, and it's the second time it's failed in a week. You're responsible. Yeah.
Post 9/11, Gatwick struggled to cope with the heightened security measures that followed. Complaints reached an all-time high as passengers faced hour-long queues in outdated facilities. Drafted in to sort it out is Jeff Williams, former Deputy Chief Constable of Sussex Police.
I think it was a sizable challenge. I think the service wasn't as good as it could be, absolutely. Queues were too long, people could queue up to an hour at times for security.
Worse for Gatwick's finances, while passengers were queuing, they weren't spending. The new head of security has been given £45 million to revolutionise the entire operation.
People who travel through Gatwick written to me saying, why is it I queue up, and then you say, pop out and follow these blue dots on the ceiling and go up some other stairs and escalator. Absolutely mad. But that's the way it's grown up over the years.
So I think we've all seen this, businesses, challenges, right? 6 years ago now, 33 million passengers, so 2/3 of today, basically. And at the time, already then, busiest single runway airport in the world. Takes an hour to get through security, so you have to be there really early. And once through security, you have to rush for your flight. No time to spend in the shops and the restaurants, right? And new management objective: fix this problem, make more money out of the customers that are, locked into your airport anyway, right? Big investment. Also increase from 33 to 45 without getting another runway as well. So I have a little snippet here how they use Splunk today. So hopefully this works as well. Let's see.
Gatwick Airport is the busiest single runway airport in the world. We have 925 flights.
Need to have to come out of the presentation one here. There you go. Sorry about that. Now is the Mac wait time when you leave. There you go. Take some time to do this. There you go.
Gatwick Airport is the busiest single runway airport in the world. We have 925 flights a day. We have about 40 million passengers flying through here every year. And what that means is we've got about 52 airlines flying to over 200 destinations. And when you think about the data, that's about 1 million messages flying around between us as an airport, airlines like EasyJet, and then an organisation called Eurocontrol who look after all the air traffic across Europe. We use Splunk Cloud for our stable operations dashboard. In our Gatwick Control Centre, we want to make sure that you have the very best passenger experience coming through our airport. So we monitor all of the information we can get on the highways agency, on the rail network, on how fast you're going through check-in. Here at Gatwick Airport, we have a target that 95% of passengers get through security in 5 minutes or less. This year, we're increasing that target to 97.5% of people, and to do that, we're using Splunk Cloud to make sure we know how each step of that customer journey is performing. Using that data, we'll be able to tune that process and continuously improve the passenger experience. We use data from the moment you scan your boarding card, to the moment you take your coat off and you load it on the X-ray, to the speed at which the trays go through the X-ray, to the speed with which you then pick up your tray, to how long it takes you to walk out of our security area. Our airfield operations team now know in real time how we're doing our on-time performance. We used to only get this information 3 or 4 times a day, and we were always looking backwards at the last 6 hours. Now we know in real time how we're all doing. The Airfield Ops dashboard that we use Splunk for is one of the key components of how we collaborate across the ground handlers, the airlines and the airport to make sure that we're as efficient on that runway as we can be. Our airfield operations team are probably saving between 2 and 4 man-hours a day simply by having the information at hand that they don't need to calculate in their spreadsheet. Collaboration is one of the most important drivers of passenger experience. Splunk has really allowed me to share and collaborate across both our business with our partners, airlines and ground handlers.
So,
network data such as firewall, web proxy, or NetFlow contain.
There you go. I love when the video resumes there. So as you can hear there, they moved the needle up, over 40 million passengers. Now 97.5% goes through security in less than 5 minutes, so they have another hour to spend money in the stores, in the in the airport. And of course, it runs more on time, more efficiently, the entire airport. And also they look at data from car parks, from trains, how much flow is coming into the airport, and they staff up the security according to that as well. So a lot of changes in the airport, of course, but also using Splunk in order to actually monitor and see how that works. So they actually, yeah, and very detailed analytics there. And they moved the needle up. I think it's now 42 million passengers, so it's 43, something like that. So very successful airport. I think that guy now works for another airport in Dubai. He's sort of big boss over of going to fix another big airport there. So it's also good for his career personally, I think. So why Splunk? My last conclusion slide here. So it's fast, it's really quick. You add data easily into Splunk and you can easily find value using the apps and using very proficient search and reporting techniques. One platform, multiple use cases. So instead of buying separate tools for monitoring different things, well, the same data, right? But different aspects of that data and get different views. You have one platform, put all your data in there and multiple users. You can add any number of users to look at this data, right? And it gives you a visibility across stack, across different silos of information. So typically you think of database admins, system admins, yada, 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 using their own tools. Here we have one tool, everyone look at the same data. Not so much alternative facts, right? Once you have the data here, you can really ask any question. So our customers, they use Splunk in ways we couldn't even imagine when we provide it to them, right? So it's your data. What can you do with it, right? And we can really handle any data from any source. People say in the organization, we still haven't found any data we can't put in Splunk, right? That makes sense. Human readable, that's the thing we need. And we can also put Splunk in cloud or on-prem or in combination as well, which is good. You can also have a hybrid solution. So that was my last slide. I think we have time for one question. We're slightly overrun, but due to a bit of the technical clicks. And otherwise, I'll be around the coffee and for the duration of the session today. So just come up to me and ask questions.
Any questions? I have Emil, one question. How does Splunk look at from Sweden perspective? What are the most typical scenarios you have? I know it's widely used there.
Yeah. So it's, I think we can see the big organizations that apply Splunk, they really see it as, they started in one area, but they really saw the value of going across the stack. So for instance, IKEA, they started using Splunk for a security initiative and they found great value in there, but also it's shifted over to businesses looking at the data. So in that case, and we also have Klarna, for instance, that is half of the employees have Splunk in front of them and make their business decision out of. And it of course started as some IT operations initiative, but grew to just look at data and they use it as a platform. So and the type of businesses, so we say we have the banks, they say, well, this is, using Splunk is sort of a standard. That's what we want to hear. Everyone should use Splunk because it's the only tool that works, they think. We have the betting companies, gaming industry, very much agile. They need to be able to push out new releases, maybe every hour. And they can do that with Splunk. They are confident. They see what happens in production. They can react on problems. And basically any business with data should use Splunk. And we have the starter package as well, so it's easy now to get started with Splunk. So.
Yeah, and the tryout is very easy. Just to go to
exactly,
the website
yeah.
And
you can spin up a cloud trial version as well. Just enter a little form and you get I think it's a couple of weeks of Splunk Cloud for your own. That's will up and running for free, and you can try that one out as well. Yeah.
So if not any questions now, so let's give Emil a big applause.
Yeah. Thank you.